Dan beat up Steven Seagal.
He should definitely try.
I agree.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
Yes.
Or it is Seagal, either way. But next question. Back there in the corner.
My question is for Mr. Furlong. Obviously, you were very young when T2 was filmed. Do you feel like there was a lot of pressure on you of being a very young actor and this was an action movie? Were you like really nervous or was it not really a big deal for you?
No, actually, you know what, you know what, I was so naive, man. I was having just a fun time the whole time, I guess, you know. I was really excited, very open-eyed, and, you know, excited to go to work. You know, it's weird. It was such a huge, it was the biggest movie I've ever done, so, you know, it was more kind of like the after effect after I, you know, started doing other movies. I'm like, wow, that was huge, like, cool. But, no, I mean, for me, you know, it's like, a lot of people say, you know, Jim Cameron's very, you know, I've heard a lot of things about working with Jim Cameron. I mean, you know, it was a blast for me. And I got to work with her, too. She played my mom.
Me too, and she didn't play my mom.
That would have been disgusting. Next question, please. Any other hands? Oh, back there. I see you back there.
Oh,
Was anyone ever injured? Major injuries on the set?
I got a lot of bruises. A lot of bruises. My skin would turn colors that I didn't actually know it could turn. Shades of purple. I actually came up with different names for the shades of purple that my body would turn. So, yeah, I definitely got thrown around a lot. But I enjoyed it.
No, I'm good.
Next question. Right here in front.
This is for Linda. You said in the role that you were offered in Terminator 3, you died in the movie. Did Kristana kill you?
Kristana who? No, actually, I don't remember. Quite frankly, I really don't, because it was a different script.
Okay.
You know, when I was like, I'm not jumping into this. They reworked everything. I mean, it was pretty obvious that they had brought out just like one string of interesting machine, old versions of the T1000, the T125, the T.5. You know, I mean, it was like they brought out the whole armada of machines to sort of fight us, but it wasn't, you know, it just wasn't taught in a way. But I wish it had been Kristana, because I would have said yes.
You redeemed yourself.
She scares me. Kristana and I met on an airplane. We were heading to Canada, Vancouver, for different jobs. And I sat down next to her, and we looked at each other, and we're like, oh my God. We got our meals before anybody else on the plane. They were terrified of the people in 2A and 2B.
And then we actually ended up seeing each other at the same hotel.
And I love her to death. Yeah, love her to death.
We got a question over here.
My question is for Mr. King. What was the most fun scene that you had to film in Terminator 2?
Most fun?
The most fun, not necessarily the most dangerous, but the most fun for you.
I think that the dangerous and the fun kind of go hand in hand. In my case, anyway, because that equals adrenaline. The whole, I mean, the motorcycle jump has sort of become the hallmark, right? And a lot of people recognize that as being one of the biggest gags in the film. Of course, it was all done on wire. I think most people know that. You couldn't drop that bike 28 feet without shattering the bike, and then the family jewels right after that. But I think the truck transfer, all the work that when he first climbs out of the truck and runs across the back bed and onto the hood, and then blows the windshield out, and then tips the rig over. We did a lot of that in sequence, as much as we could, and then before breaking it down, it actually took it right to putting it on its side was the final piece. But running from, like climbing out of the small truck, and you have to imagine that to run across the bed of that little pickup truck while it's being pushed by the big rig was inducing a lot of shaking to the little truck, right? And so to get rid of that, we found we had to be doing 60 miles an hour to get rid of that shake. And otherwise I couldn't have even planted my foot in the back bed of the little truck without getting spit off. So now you're doing 60, and you got to climb out with a weapon that's the safety is off in this weapon, and you've got to hold it up and look ballsy and be a Terminator. Run across the back bed of the truck, up the grill, across the hood, kneel down, grab onto the visor, and then fire the weapon. So there was a lot of elements to remember, and I remember Jim coming to me and saying, okay, we did the run-bys first until we got the right speed, and then he said, okay, Ray, it's like 4 in the morning, so we're going to break for lunch now. And I'm like, well, I don't feel hungry, and I'd really like to get this over with, if you don't mind, and he said to me, okay, Peter, if you can pull this off, you get the Brass Balls Award. So we went ahead and did the first take, and he stopped. It was a perfect take, and then he said to me, he goes, you jackrabbit across the back bed of that truck so fast that I need you to slow it down. And I'm like, well, why would I stand in the kill zone here any longer than I need to? But anyway, so long and short of it, I think that piece right there had the biggest adrenaline rush and the most fun for me. I don't want to hog the bike.
Did you get the brass balls?
You'd have to ask my wife. But I do have 3-year-old twin boys, so maybe not.
Back in the podium, yeah.
Two questions for Danny Cooksey.
Oh,
You played the role in Terminator 2, and was Gary Coleman mean to you?
Just a standard audition. I went in and did it and got the call and went, fuck yeah. Gary Coleman was not mean. He was wonderful. He was, I think he was pretty relieved at the fact that he wasn't the youngest kid. He didn't have to do the bedwetting stuff anymore. That was my duties.
Next question. Anybody else? Okay, there we go, way back there.
We did it 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years after the film. I was kind of fat. So, and my hair was really short, and we had to try to, it was really hard to go back and like try to recreate that character 2 years later. But we pulled it off, and I didn't see it for probably 10 years. I just saw it a few years ago with my nieces. And my sister did not prepare them. They were foster children at the time, and she then adopted them. But I mean, these children had been exposed to so little that they sat at Universal with me in LA, and they went like this. How are you doing that? I'm not sure that we did them any good by showing it to them that way, but that's the only time that I've seen it.
Back in the far corner there, yes.
I got a question for Furlong. When Terminator 3 was coming about, they even offered the rights to you as the world John Connor, and I was working with Dan Wilson.
Hold on, I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear you very
He
well.
was asking about being cast or why you weren't in Terminator 3 and working with Jeanette Goldstein on Terminator 2.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Jeanette Goldstein, she plays the foster mom. Yeah, I was stoked because I watched Aliens, and she played, I think it was Vasquez. She was like all badass in that, and I was really stoked. And when I learned that, I was like, wow, because she looks so normal in the Terminator 2. So I was blown away. That was like one of my first like actor things where I'm like, wow, you're really good. And then, T3, yeah, stay away from drugs. That's the most obvious thing you can say, man.
I will say that Eddie and I did get to work together a few years later on a film called Attack on Darfur about the genocide in Sudan. Very different style of film. So if you guys haven't seen that movie, you should check it out.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
is
awesome.
Next question? Oh, you're good.
Miss Hamilton, were you concerned that people wouldn't take just the role of, it's kind of a tag on to this question, but that people wouldn't take to your character in Terminator 2, considering you were so, wholesome and innocent in the first one, and you were so badass in the second one, even more so than the Terminator, were you worried people wouldn't take to that? You come around at the end, but
Yeah,
not very much.
I think as an actor you can never worry about how someone's going to respond to a character that you're playing, because that just then means you're playing two sides, and you just have to jump in with everything you got and be that best character at that moment, and then the rest, is up to the fates, because you can't try to play someone that people are going to like. And I find the best work I do is when I never think about audience, I only think about character, and then as long as I don't have to watch it afterwards, which a lot of times, I'll do something really courageous and go, God, I hope I never see that. Usually when I go to Canada, because you think you're up there in Canada and no one's ever going to see it. So I've done some really, really good work in Canada, folks.
Well, you should watch it.
I don't watch it.
Who would win, Sarah Connor or Ripley?
Ian should answer this one.
Well, T2, for sure, Linda would. Right, that was the question. I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. Was the question who would win between you and Ripley in a fight? I think in T1, I think Ripley would have won. In T2, I think she would have won.
Diplomacy,
Very
folks,
good.
at work.
Took me a while to figure out that I was where I was. Once I got that down here. Who are you anyway?
Yeah, I got two questions. Miss Hamilton, marry me. You made my heart melt when I got your autograph, so I said to ask that. But seriously, I understand that. Seriously, I understand you were locked up in Pescadero and when he was younger, but would you have had any qualms with him listening to Public Enemy?
No.
I just want to make sure you're a cool mom.
Oh yeah, very cool mom.
Anyone in the back of the room have any questions?
No more questions.
Yeah,
The last call comes and everybody puts them up.
Was everything pretty much scripted, or was there any input from the actors that you can share with us, or like changes that you needed to make for whatever reasons?
Michael and I did a lot of private.
Oh my.
Rehearsal. We just wanted to make sure it was really, really, really gonna work. You know what? Jim is fluid that way. I mean, it might not necessarily be about like rearrange the whole scene, but if you had a line change or out of order, that was very acceptable. So I would say that Jim was pretty good with input. I mean, you couldn't take a lot of time to process stuff because he was always very busy. It's like, take a number when you wanted his attention. But I'd say it was a pretty fluid environment.
Yeah, I've always felt that Jim, along with a lot of directors that are very confident with themselves, will take a suggestion that will make their movie better. And so if you come up with a line or rearrange a scene, rearrange the way the scene is played, the way that it's written, if they think it's going to make their movie better, he'll change, and he's flexible, but he really writes so well, I think, that you know, I've polished so many turds in my fucking life. You know, that his stuff is, you know, usually so good that you don't really want to change too much of it anyway. But I would say he's much more flexible than you think that he would be. You know, because he's, you know, written and directed everything he's ever done.
You have some more questions back there. Against the wall, sir, to the camera. Can you speak up, sir?
Do you have any interesting story about working on the Children of the Corn? And what do you think of the Sarah Connor?
Children of the Corn, I thought, was going to be a big career ender. I was so uncomfortable. I mean, I love Stephen King like the rest of you, I hope. I mean, loved him, and read all of them. So I was wild about the project at the beginning. But as we went along, every good idea and scary effect that we were supposed to do in that movie, they dropped because they didn't have the money. I'd be like, wait, isn't the corn supposed to turn black here? And they're like, oh yeah, we couldn't afford that. And like we just kept on going, and everything was stripped away. And I remember at one point I said, why would we get back, because they added this ending where we all get back into the car. I was like, why would we get back in the car? They're gonna think we're idiots. And he goes, the producer, we want them to think you're idiots. And I thought, I'm gonna die here. My career is going to die. But you know, it's proof that well, you guys might like that film, but and Sarah Connor's. I only saw the first episode. I love Lena Headey. I think she's beautiful and gorgeous, and you know, I think it's the hardest thing in the world to follow in the footsteps of someone who's done something well, and the more, you know, it's completely courageous to do so. So I give her like total kudos for that. And I would love to say that I watched the show and loved her, but I don't really watch TV.
I'm going to add something to that. I also saw the first episode, and I could totally take Summer Glau. I'm sorry. She's little, all right?
I never watched it. So.
And ironically, my middle name is Summer. Kind of weird.
I just want to say something. I wanted to thank you guys for making those movies, because the first movie I remember watching was Terminator 2, and the first Terminator I got to see in theaters was Terminator 3, and I kind of feel bad for Michael. I love Terminator 1, but Terminator 2 and Terminator 3 hold special places in my heart, because Terminator 2 is the first movie I remember watching, and Terminator 3 is the first one I saw in theaters. But Michael as Reese was a great character too, and I just want to say thank you for making this movie.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I have to go, unfortunately, to a photo op, so.
We'll be right back.
I guess I'll be back.
If anyone has any dirt they want to talk about Christina while she's gone, please feel free.
Eddie will fill me in.
Yeah, that question in the back there. Yes, you.
No. Should I? Yeah.
Your one favorite, this is for everyone, your one favorite line from the Terminator film, whether it's yours or someone else's.
Oh, I think it was when I first saw it, the one that like just made me realize I don't want to watch myself on screen was the what was it? She's Not My Mother, Todd, or something. I just wanted to punch me in the face, but yeah.
So that was his least
favorite. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
I know what you are expecting me to say, but it's not your Terminator, fucker. I love the moment in the first film when Reese is down and I got to get him up, and where you see the promise of the soldier to come, and when I say "on your feet, soldier," and I love that the hint of what none of us knew were coming next, but that the real transformation, like reaching deep and finding that deeper voice and whatever it takes to get somebody up on their feet. So I would have to say, on your feet, soldier.
I guess for me too, and I don't remember exactly what the line was, but I think it was, I crossed time for you, Sarah. Because the thing about the Terminator was that, like, if that didn't have the love story involved in it, it really wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful as it was. And the love story to me was really, it was really special. It was very special to me at the time, and working with Linda was very special to me at the time. She was married and I was married, so that was that. But we became very close, and I fell in love with her, and I thought that a love story was in that line that I crossed time for you. Was a very, very important line for me.
Right here in the front.
Michael, is there any truth to the rumor that you were considered for a role in Avatar, but James thought you were still too recognizable as Reese?
Actually,
it wasn't Reese. It was that I was in the movie Aliens with Sigourney, and what happened was I met Jim. We talked about it. I met him again. We talked about it. And again, it went down, and I thought I was going to get to play the role. I waited about 11 months to find out, actually, that I didn't. He cast Sigourney, and then once he cast Sigourney, he kind of thought that people, when they watched the movie, would think, Michael Sigourney and Aliens, Sigourney, and he just didn't want that. And I understand it. I mean, Jim is, I directed a movie recently that'll be out soon, and you'll be able to see. It's a little, it's a little grindhouse movie, a little nothing movie, but a little. I mean, not another movie, but a very small, low budget kind of exploitation movie. But I always, and